chapter 6, verse 4. Mark chapter 6, verse 4. And the title of this message is The Power of Connection. I've been talking about it on YouTube, but I want to take it just, I'm going to say some of the same things, but I want to take it just a little bit in a different area today also. I titled this message, once again, The Power of Connection. And I'm going to be coming from Mark chapter 6 and verses 4. And as I was thinking about this message this morning and thinking about getting ready to preach it, I started to think about how many scriptures in the Bible talk about wisdom. You know, how wisdom cries out in the street. And it always refers to wisdom as a her or a she. So when I see that, I think about wisdom is able to give birth, because they refer to it as a female. So in my mind, wisdom can give birth to more knowledge and to more wisdom in different situations. Now, when you think about wisdom, you have to really understand what wisdom is. As you make mistakes, as you do good, as you do bad, and over time you become wise. And basically, in its simplest form, wisdom is the ability to disperse knowledge in the proper place at the proper time to get a desired result. Now, over time, the result that you desire is not like the result that maybe you desired when you first started out. Over time, as you age and you mature, your desires become different. Your desires are more mature, so your wisdom is more mature, and your decisions and your choices are a little bit different. Like when I was a younger guy, I would quickly go get a new car. I thought about I wanted to drop it low. I wanted to put rims on it. I wanted to do what everybody else is doing and spend all that money, on a car to make it look a certain way when I was young. Okay, now that I'm wise, I will look at that money and say, I can use this money to remodel my house. I can use this money to get some wooden floors. Or I can use this money to do this. Or I can use this money to do that. So in other words, as I grow and as I mature, my wisdom changes. My decision changes. My choices change. The way I look at people that I connect with change. I don't look at friends as just a benefit to get something from them, but I look at who can I deal with, who can I connect with that's going to help me not only go to the next level, but I'm going to also be able to do something in their lives. I'll be able to say something or do something that will help them go to the next level in Christ, in their job, or whatever they do. In other words, I can help them. I want to be able to help them maximize their potential in everything that they do. Because if you think about it, when you come in contact with someone, you immediately look at that person and think, okay, what can I get from this person? And they're looking at you, what can I get from you? It's always like that. We're always thinking that. Even if it's just a hello, even if it's just a hug, it's always something that we want. So we pick and choose our friends based on our desires. But what I've learned is you need to pick and choose your friends based on not your immediate desire, but your ultimate desire. Because there are some people that will connect with you and some friends that will connect with you and only go a certain distance. Then you have another group of friends that will connect with you, or people that will connect with you, and they'll go a little bit further. But then you make those lifelong commitments, and these people are with you. If you ever heard of the story of David and Jonathan. Jonathan was the son of the king, and by rights, Jonathan should have been the next king. When Jonathan was the son of Saul, by rights, Jonathan was lined up to be the next king. This is the story of Saul and David and Jonathan. But when Jonathan met David, Jonathan knew that David was anointed king. He made that connection with David, and he knew, okay, this is the king, and I'm going to follow the king. Whereas any other person would have said, no, I'm the son of the king, so I automatically inherit the throne of the king. But Jonathan understood that David had been anointed by God to be the king, so he bowed before David and says, I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to connect with you because I know God is in your life. I know God has anointed you to lead this country and not me. Even though by rights, I should be the one doing it. You don't find that too often where people will back up because they recognize you have a stronger ability or a more mature ability to do things in whatever situation it is than they do. Think about it when you're at work. When you're at work, there are some people that can just do things better. But then there's always another person that's fighting for their right to be in that position, people you work with, to be in that position when they know that you can do that position better than them. That person is not thinking about the destiny or the ultimate goal of the company or whatever you're doing. What they're thinking about is self-satisfaction, me right now. That's all I'm thinking about is me right now. Those type of people are not the type of people you want to connect with, because those people usually bring you down. Now, in Mark chapter 6, verse 4, it even happened to Jesus. Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and among his own relatives and in his own household. Prophet, man of God, preacher. This is whom Jesus is talking about right now. But it could be any leader. It could be your best friend. It could be a leader. It could be the company manager. It could be a person that you grew up with. What he's saying, you're going to get the least amount of honor by those who know you, because they see you in your weaknesses and they see you in your strengths. So when it's time for them to launch out and do something, they're not going to deal with you because they know you too well. Now, if you're just successful, and everything that you've done is successful, and you way up there, then those people who didn't honor you before will begin to honor you. And you see it toward the end of Jesus' life, where now all of a sudden, you know, Mary is there and his brothers and sisters are there, and people are coming around now toward the end of his life after he's done everything. But when you first start out any type of vision or anything, Jesus said a prophet is without honor, because they know you. They've seen you in your weaknesses. They've seen you mess up. They've seen you do wrong things. So in their mind, how can you tell me to do something, or how can you lead me into doing anything when I saw how you operate at work? I've seen how you operate at home. How can you tell me anything about my wife or my family when I see how you treat your wife and your family? A prophet is without honor amongst his own, amongst his family. How many of you, and I guarantee you everybody will raise their hand on this one, but you don't have to raise your hand, began to do something or launched out to do something and you had no support from the family, no support from people around you, no support from mama, no support from daddy, no support from cousins, no support from friends, no support from those people that you know, but you thought when you got ready to do something that, hey, these people are going to help me because they are connected with me. Well, I'll tell you something. Those are not true connections. Those are not true friends. Those are people who are along for the ride, who get what they can get from you. They're takers. They're not givers. Takers never, ever help you do anything. They just take. The definition of love is give. When somebody care about you and they love you, they give. They support. Those are the type of connections that you want. Now, the takers, they look glamorous, they look good because they're there for the moment, and they'll come in like a skyrocket. But remember, a skyrocket always falls. Always fall. You want the people that are seeds. They go into the ground. You can't see what they're doing, but you know they're doing something. And by the time they grow up and spring up into a plant, you find out exactly what they was doing in your life. And you realize, wow, everyone else that was in my life was a taker. They was not a giver. It's very important that you realize in your circle and in your life, in your job, and this is for everybody. It sounds like a simple teaching, but most people do not do this. You have to look at your job, you have to look at your life and say, okay, where are my connections? And when I'm thinking about a connection, I'm talking about where is the person that's going to help me go to the next level. I was thinking about this driving over here. There's someone in Temecula, Marietta, and the Inland Empire who has knowledge on how to become a millionaire right now that none of us have. Right now. So if I was to connect with that person, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to tell you why I am not in a situation or circumstance where I could connect with that person. Most of the time, you can't connect with successful people or the people that are going anywhere because of our level of thinking, the way we think, the way we see things. If it costs too much, we don't want to do it. But people who excel and people who become great in life, they're willing to pay the price. They're willing to shell out money. They're willing to give $3,000 or $4,000 for one course because they understand if I get this information inside of me, it's going to multiply. This $2,000 or $3,000 that I've spent on this course is going to, over a period of time, is going to make me a millionaire. Whereas the person that doesn't understand connection, that doesn't understand knowledge, that doesn't understand wisdom, that doesn't understand investing, they're going to look at that $2,000 or $3,000 and think about a big screen TV, new pair of shoes, a new suit, things that are temporal, things that are not going anywhere, things that are not going to do anything in your life. They're going to look at that first. What can I do with this money to satisfy me for the right now? For right now. What connections are satisfying me for the right now? I don't want to worry about the future. I want the right now. Something that's going to satisfy me right now. That's the difference between exercising and eating junk food. I want something right now because I have a desire, I have an emotion that needs to be fulfilled right now. I don't feel right. I don't want to wait. I don't want something that's too hard. I don't want to make an investment. Well, anything in life worth having, you have to invest in it. You have to make an investment. You cannot get anything in life worth having without an investment, without sacrifice, without some type of, I won't call it torment, but some type of, problems from those around you. Because as soon as you get ready to do what you're going to do, the first thing they say is, who are you? Now, in this story, where Jesus is talking about the prophet, remember Jesus, he was born to Mary, and he was born to Joseph. We know about the immaculate birth. We know that Mary was found with child. Mary knows she was found with child, and it wasn't by a man. Joseph had a dream, and the angels came to Joseph in a dream and said, Mary is pregnant. She got, in other words, I'll just make it plain, she got pregnant by God. So Joseph and Mary both know this, that Jesus is not their true child. Where as a man and a woman come together, they know this. So Jesus travels out through his life. He becomes a carpenter, working with his father. So now Jesus is 30 years old, and it's time for Jesus to launch out into his ministry. Now all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, who do you think you are, Jesus? It's just like that Clark Kent movie when Clark Kent came to Earth, and they found him in that little egg or whatever. And when it was time to leave, his family said, well, we always knew you were going to leave. Okay, and they supported him. Mary and Joseph, well, you don't even hear nothing about Joseph, but Mary, the whole family, nobody supported Jesus. Mary knew that this child came from God, so she knew that, hey, he's going to go do something later on. He's going to do something great, but they couldn't see how great Jesus was because they kept looking at, he's just a carpenter. We know Jesus. He played with our kids. He walked on our street. We know Mark. We seen him put ourselves gear together. We ain't going to buy no house with him. We know this guy. We are too familiar with this guy. We've seen your practices, so I'm not going to trust you. This is not a good connection. I don't know. I'm not going to get involved with that. We have seen Jesus build houses. We know he's a carpenter. How can you go from being a carpenter to being a man of God? Now I've got that. How can you go from being a senior chief in the Navy and now you're preaching, you're doing all these YouTube videos? You never really did that on a ship. Did he go crazy? Is he losing his mind? People can never see you for where you're going if they're constantly looking at you for where you are. We have a term in the Navy, and everybody in the Navy will know what I'm talking about. It's the term is shall. When you hear shall in ordinance, that means there is no deviation from it. It will happen no matter what. If somebody got to die, this is going to happen when you hear the word shall. Well, there are three phases in our lives. What was, that's behind me. What is, that's what I'm dealing with right now. And what shall be. So in other words, shall be is coming. It doesn't matter how we think about it or how we feel about it. Shall be is coming. So what connections and what people are you going to add into your life to help you go into what shall be? What vision do you have? What's your destiny? What is your purpose? Do you have passion for that purpose? If you have passion for any purpose in your life, that's the fuel for your purpose. Passion. And usually when people see passion, They'll join up with you because they feel, okay, this person has a passion for this thing. So that means that this person is going to make this thing happen. But what happens when you're dealing with connections and you try to launch out into your purpose and your vision, they haven't seen you be passionate about that. When I was in the Navy, I wasn't passionate about preaching in the work center. I'm not going to preach to people and tell them about God all day long. I was there to do a job. Mark wasn't trying to sell houses in the work center. We was trying to get the job done for the Navy. So now when people see you switch, it confuses them. Like, whoa, hold up. You're a chief now. You was a senior chief then. You're doing this now. And now you're passionate about something else. So in their mind, they're thinking, well, maybe you're confused. You can't just switch purposes and switch visions like that. And it's not that you're switching. It was always there. It just wasn't time to launch out into that purpose. It wasn't time to walk toward what shall be in that area of life at that point in time. And most people don't understand that. They think, well, he can't make up his mind what he wants to do. 1 minute he want to stay in the Navy, he want to do this. Next minute he want to be a preacher. 1 minute he want to be a priest. Next minute he want to be a realtor. 1 minute he want to race cars. Now he want to race motorcycles. And they're thinking, oh, well, he's flip-flopping. Now you do have people who flip-flop. But whenever you find a person that has a purpose and they're passionate about it, and you know that that purpose and that destiny and that vision can somehow fit in your life to help you excel and help you maximize your potential to go to the next level, these are the people that you connect with. But these kind of connections usually cost, like driving 100 miles from San Diego. These type of connections usually cost. It's hard to find connections in this day and age that you can really trust because everybody's out for what I want. I'm selfish. I want to do this. I got this movement going. There's this movement going. If you don't believe this, then I'm not going to deal with you. If you don't believe that, then I'm not going to deal with you. But every now and then you will run into a passionate person that has a purpose, that's looking for that connection, that's looking for that support. And then you look at that person, you look at the purpose, you look at the vision, you look at the goals and see, okay, how does this fit into what I'm doing? It could sound like you're being selfish, but now I'm going to switch gears and tell you why I said that. Because everyone is going somewhere eventually. We're all going to die. We're born in a state of entropy, meaning we're born dying. We're not all going to be here. In 100 years, nobody in this room will be here. So what we do on earth will determine what is said about us when we leave. Now, some people don't care about that. And I'm not really concerned about what's said about me when I leave, but I would like to leave my kids some type of inheritance, not leave them a bunch of bills and not leave them a bunch of crap to deal with after I'm gone. And the way to do that is to establish the right connections, to know the right people. But it's hard because most of the time when we try to establish connections, we won't go outside our home. We won't go outside our family. We won't go outside our state. We won't go outside our country. But as you see in Jesus' situation, he says you're not going to get no honor here. You're not going to get no help here. That's not always the case, but for most part, you're not going to get help amongst those that know you because they would rather go out and help someone else with a purpose, with a vision, with a passion because they're too familiar with you. They've seen you at the bottom. They've seen you when you were down and out. They've seen you when you were drunk in some foreign port. So the last thing they want to do is trust you with anything concerning their lives. So they would rather go to someone that they don't know. Jesus said a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and among his own relatives and his own household. Now Jesus is using specific words here. Whenever you hear Jesus say something, you always remember, it's just an established law. What he's basically saying in this scripture, if any type of leader, any type of vision that you want to launch out into, don't expect a lot of help. Don't expect a lot of help. Don't expect people to just jump to your cause. Because, that's what I thought when I started this church. Oh, man, it's going to grow real quick. It's just going to blow up. It didn't happen that way. And then that's when I read this scripture and I started thinking, it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you have to go outside the circle and start talking to those people that you don't usually deal with. Start making those connections with the people that you don't really deal with. Because, see, we all have our unique personalities, our unique temperaments, and we get into our little temperaments and our personalities, and we tell ourselves, I'm only going to deal with this type of person. I'm only going to deal with these people. And if you look at your life, the people that you're dealing with, You're not going anywhere. You're just running in a circle like a dog chasing his tail. You're still in the same position, And God is saying, step outside of your circle. Step outside of that circle of friends that you're dealing with and deal with the circle of friends that I'm telling you to deal with. Step outside the Baptist church. Step outside the Catholic church. Step outside the full gospel. Step outside the non-denominational and get my wisdom from the Word of God and let me lead and guide you. Because the Bible is not just about people saying hallelujah, raising hands, and falling out of church and doing a bunch of dramatical stuff. This Word of God, and when you really read it, it's telling you the same thing that any leadership conference is talking about out here. The 12-step program next door talking about it. They're just not talking about it in the Scripture. I've heard plenty of leadership seminars and everything that they say, it's all right here in the Bible, and we wouldn't need all of that if we just got into the Bible, read the Bible, listened to what it said, and did what it said. I think it was Warren Buffett. It was either Warren Buffett or one of those big rich tycoons that deal in stocks and all that type of stuff. I mean, he's the top dog. I read this about 20 years ago. He said that he read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I can't remember exactly who it was. And he said he did everything the Bible said concerning money, and he became a millionaire. Now, people go to seminars to learn this stuff. It's right here in the Bible. But what happens is when you go to church, they tell you everything except what's in the Bible. You got sin in the Bible. You got homosexuality in the Bible. You got murder in the Bible. You got people cheating on wives and cheating in the Bible. You got men here killing people. You got murder in it. You got all kind of stuff in the Bible. The people of God were not just perfect people. But a lot of times we don't talk about that part. So when you go to church, the preacher and the people at the church, they begin to talk about themselves as if they're in some state of perfection. So then you don't want to go to church, and then that leads you away from reading the Bible because you think you have to be a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to have this connection, you have to be this way, you have to be a certain way to go to church because that's what religion has taught us. But that's not in the Bible. David was on the roof of his house one day and saw a woman named Bathsheba, and he kept looking at her till finally he got her in his house, ended up sleeping with her. When he found out who her husband was, he called him. He told his sergeants and his top people to put her husband on the front line because David wanted him to die. Because he didn't want the man to find out what he did. So they put her husband on the front line. Her husband ended up dying. This is a man of God. This is the man that God said, this is a man after my own heart. God said that about David. And here David is committing adultery, committing murder, doing all kinds of stuff. But God said, this is a man after my heart. This is a man that's constantly chasing God, that's constantly seeking God. And what I'm saying is nobody's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. So when you start to make connections with people, you can't look at what they did and what they didn't do. You have to look at the passion that they have for where they're going. The passion for what shall be is going to bring to their life. You have to look at that passion, the passion that's fueling that vision. Now, I learned a while ago, the way you understand what a preacher is saying, or the way you really, I call it getting in on what the preacher's saying, the Word of God. Every time the preacher preaches, you think about a situation in your life that's dear to you, that you're dealing with. Everybody in here is passionate about something, even if it's doing your fingernails, looking at clothes, looking at shoes, shopping, cleaning up, buying stuff for a house, golf, fixing cars. Everybody's passionate about something. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about how would you feel when you were passionate about that. Rosie, if you're passionate about these clothes or something, you look at this dress and you want to buy this dress and you save all this money for it and you're passionate about it. You done worked out to get to the point where you could fit this certain outfit. You go to the store, you done saved the money, you got a romantic night coming up with Mark, and you done did everything you needed to do, and then you buy it, and you look in the mirror like, God dog, I'm looking good. And he come in the house and be like, what the heck you got on? What is that? Girl, take that off. You pay how much? Oh my God. And he go open up a soda, get on the couch, and watch TV. How would you feel with no support? Now, Think about it. That's how Jesus felt. That's how we all feel. But because it's not important to you does not mean it's not important to that person. We all have kids, and you know how important stuff is to kids. They'll lose their mind and start crying, and you're looking at think, oh, that ain't nothing. But it's important to them. But their connection and the person that supposedly loved them is now letting them down because they won't let them do what they need to do. So when you hear the word of God, you think of it in that way, in that way. What if I didn't have the support? And how did I feel when I wasn't supported in what I was doing? When I wasn't supported in my vision or my destiny because it seemed unimportant to someone else, but it was important to me. So if I'm connected with you, what's important to me should be important to you. And if it's not important to you, you still should support just because we're in that connection. I remember I was thinking about when we was in the Navy, and I knew Mark sold houses, and I was thinking about all the times that he told me that people that were close to us, because he was telling me about people that we worked with, and I remember this, in the division, that people that we work with, he would tell me, hey, they wouldn't let me show them any houses, or they wouldn't let me sell their house, or they want to buy a house and they don't want to use me as a realtor, but we all work together, we're close and we're friends. So I'm hearing this. So, and I remember I asked him about, was it selling my house? Selling. I asked him about selling my house. So the first thing that popped in my mind is what everybody else said. But then I says, no. I hang out with this dude. I talk to this dude. That would just be so wrong to go ask somebody else to sell my house, and I'm sitting here working with him. So I'm going to roll the dice. If he bad and he mess up, then we can be friends, and I just won't use him no more as no realtor. But I'm not going to not use the person that I'm connected with because I'm seeing them in a different light, or because they're doing some things that I don't think they should be doing, or maybe they don't dress the way I think they should dress, or don't talk the way I think they should talk. Okay, all you got to do is go talk, sell the house. What's the big deal? Go talk and show me a house. But you will be surprised at how unsupportive some people are. I'm not going to use you. Why? I really don't know, but I'm just not going to use you because I trust someone else. Same thing with this building. I went to someone else and they told me, don't trust this person. Go get the building somewhere else. Don't trust this person because this person is messed up. This person has did this to other people. That's what I was told. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go trust the person that they say don't trust. Come to find out, this was the best deal. I've gotten more than what I paid for in this deal. I wouldn't have got it in that deal. But if I would have listened to people instead of making this connection right here, and this connection, I'm telling you, this connection may lead to other people, going into their destiny because this connection told me she was looking for a realtor. So then I told her about Mark. So now she wanted to meet Mark. So I chose her. I like the way she talked. I like what she said. I connected with her. Mark was already connected with me. He comes to the church. I'm connected with her. I tell her about Mark. She said, oh, I'm looking for a good realtor. So now you see how those connections are starting to slowly come together because you're connected with the right person. And these connections could lead to a lot of things. These connections could lead to a lot of money. These connections could lead to a lot of prosperity. It could lead to a lot of things because you're connected with the right people. And it's not so much about being connected with a person that's successful or a person that's not successful. The best people to be connected with is people you can trust. Now, I want somebody that's going to have my back. Well, that's the world. We live in a world of sharks. And you always want somebody to have your back. You always want someone that you know you can connect with. And because you are connected with them, you can get anything from them. You can do anything with them. I have a couple of friends I can call up right now I haven't even seen in years. And if I call them up, we will start off, never miss the beat. That's what you call a friend. When you're around someone and you get all agitated and you get fidgety and you feel like you can't trust them and the atmosphere is not right. I don't know about you. I can't hang around those people. I have to leave and I just have to cut them loose because they're shaky. They call themselves friends, but really they are associates. And I like to call them wolves in sheep clothing. They pretend that they're with you. They pretend that they're on your side. But all the while they're talking behind your back, hating on you, wanting you to fail. Because you have to watch it. The saying is this, and this is not biblical because I don't follow it. They say, keep your enemies closer. I'm like, No, I'm going to keep my friends closer, because if my friends are closer, then my friends can see what my enemy's doing when I can't see it. If my enemy is close, he can stab me in the back and do something to me. So if I'm surrounded by good friends, then the enemy can't get in here and do nothing to me. That's the philosophy of how people say things, and you hear people say it a lot. It says keep your enemies closer, but that never made sense to me. If you're my enemy and you're close to me, then you can really harm me. I'm going to keep you at a distance and encircle myself with my friends. So when you start coming, then my friends see you coming and they warn me. So I have somebody that's all the 360-degree circle around me watching the enemy through my connection. So I would rather keep my connections closer than my enemy. All right, let me give you a couple notes. The people that know you best, as I said earlier, will most likely never support you in most cases. And we all know that. We've all been in situations like that. I mean, just think about it. Is there anything that you ever done or you thought about doing in your life and then you expected someone to help you and they didn't help you? And you thought about, wow, I would have at least thought you would have done it. I would have at least thought you would have helped me, and they didn't help you at all. And you was just like, wow, thanks for nothing. You know, I thought you were my friend. I thought that we had a relationship. I thought that we were close. And then you may look at that situation and think, well, we're still friends. They just didn't want to help me in this situation. No, that's not a true friend. That's what I call an associate. A true friend is there. When you cut a covenant, a friendship should be almost like a marriage. You have a covenant, you have an agreement. If you are a friend, 100% of what I have is to help support you, and 100% of what you have is to help support me in whatever I do. Now, when I say that, I don't mean go empty out your bank account and give it to your friend, or give him your car, give him your wife, or give him your kids. I'm not talking about no crazy stuff like that. I'm just saying support. Do I have a friend that I can call, that I can talk to when I do something wrong, that won't judge me, that will look at me and say, hey, it'll be all right? You know how good that feels? I have called some people, or they have talked to me, and I didn't even talk about this ministry, and they said, well, how's the ministry going? And I may say something like, well, ain't that many people come. And before I could get it out of my mouth, don't worry about it. You've been doing this. God called you to do this. I'm praying for you. God's going to do it. I'm going to go on your website, and I'm going to give you some money. I want to help this thing. I want to help you. That encourages me. Not too many people do that, but I do have people who do that. Then I have some to be like, well, what's going on? How many people going? Well, you probably wasn't supposed to do it. You sure you're doing that right? And you automatically know that person's going to go back and tell everybody else. So you watch what you say. There was a woman in the Bible who had an issue. Her son died, and the prophet had prophesied that you'll have a son. Well, in other words, she had made a connection with the man of God, with the preacher. She built a room for him on her house, and he asked her, do you have any kids? And she said no. He said, well, this time next year, you'll have a kid. She was like, don't play with me, because I don't know if she was non-fertile or whatever, if I can use that word. In other words, she couldn't have a kid, apparently. But he said, you'll have a kid this time next year. So then she had a boy that same time that next year. Now, she had made a connection with the preacher. She was so connected to him that she built a room on the side of her house for him to study, for him to eat whenever he came through that way. So apparently she was rich. So she had the son. Then the son died. When the son died, she didn't tell her husband. She didn't tell anybody. She walked out of the house, and her husband was like, what's wrong? She said, all is well. A couple of other people said, what's wrong? She said, all is well. She told somebody else. She said, all is well. She found the man of God and told him what happened. He said, take me to him. He laid her son out, laid on top of her son, his hands on his hands, his legs on his legs. This is a story in the Bible, and the boy came back alive. My point is this: she went to the connection. She went to the person that she trusted. She went to the person who gave her who told her this was going to happen. She said, I believed in you. And not only did I believe in you, but I built a room on the side of my house. I gave you money. I gave you food. I was all a part of your destiny. And you told me I was going to have this son. You are a man of God. And I know God hears you. So I came to you. If I'd have been a preacher, I'm like, does your husband know? No, he don't know. Why didn't she tell her husband? Because he probably would have said, well, hey, we had him for a while. Let's get ready to bury him. Let's go ahead on about our business. But she didn't want to hear that. She said, this is a man of God. he gonna raise this child from the dead. So in order to get this child raised from the dead, I can't talk to anybody who's gonna say something negative about my purpose. I have a purpose. I want my son back. I'm not gonna talk to my husband. I'm not gonna talk to my servants. I'm not gonna call my mother, my father. She didn't talk to anybody she knew. She went straight to the source. And sometimes that's how it is in our life. When things happen in our lives, sometimes we can't tell our husbands and our wives and our friends and our children, our daughters and our brothers and our sisters and our uncles. We have to go straight to God and say, God, how do you want me to handle this? What is the best way for me to handle this? And I guarantee you, if you go sincerely, God will show you something in the Bible. It'll come through a preaching tape. It'll come through a book, or it'll come straight out of the Bible and say, this is how you handle this situation. Or don't pick that person. Don't do this. Don't do that. Sometimes we call it intuition. And a lot of times that's God telling you, no, that's not good. Have you ever had that happen? You just thought, oh, this is maybe I shouldn't do it. But you really wanted to do it. And then when you did it, it didn't work out. And you're like, man, I should have followed my first mind. A lot of times that's God telling you, hey, don't do it. But see, God's not going to come in there with no hammer and hit you over the head and say don't do it. He's going to be that still small voice that says, no, don't buy that. Don't do that. Don't purchase that home. Don't do that. Because everything is not always good. When I came to pay the rent on the building the other day, I was talking to Diane back there, and I was like, wow, you rent this building a lot. You must make a lot of money. She was like, yeah, but I turned down a lot of money. She was like, wow, that's money. I wouldn't turn down no money. She looked at me. She said, all money is not good money. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't understand it because I don't rent no building, but obviously there's some money out there that's not good money. I didn't get it, but what she was saying is some connections out there are not good connections. That's not something you want to deal with, because although it looks good, when you connect with it, it's going to bring you nothing but trouble. It's going to bring you nothing but chaos. It's going to keep you worried. It's going to keep you up at night. And I don't know about you. I don't like being worried. I don't like being up at night thinking about things. So I'm careful about whom I deal with, who I allow in my business. And my wife can tell you, I cannot stand drama. I am not going to deal with you. If you're dramatic, I'm not going to connect with you. I don't want nothing to do with you, because the one thing I can't stand is going to sleep worried about what you said about me, worried about what's going on. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it with family. I'm not going to do it with friends. I'm not going to do it with associates. I don't connect with drama, because all drama does, arguing, fussing, backbiting, envying, all that does is stop you in your tracks, and you can't progress any further. It's hard to progress with a bunch of drama on your back. So it's like me walking with all these problems on my back that I don't even need, because all I got to do is just cut you loose and move on. But some people love drama. They love connecting to problems. I can't stand problems. I am not going to deal with you. I don't care who you are. As soon as I hear or see one piece of drama coming out of your mouth, I'm going to analyze that drama, and I'm going to analyze you, and I'm going to figure out where you're coming from, and then I'm going to make a decision. Can I help this person? Can I deal with this person? Should I connect with this person, or should I just move on? If you're coming at me the wrong way, then I'm probably going to move on. And then you may say, well, maybe you might be missing a connection. Well, some money is good money. Some money is bad money. Some connections that you connect with, yes, they bring good in your life, but they also bring drama. It's like bringing food and this is going to be nasty, and vomit at the same time. I don't want both of those. Don't bring me no big juicy steak and then a bowl of vomit on the side of it. That's what drama's like. What would you do? You'd walk away from that, right? Wouldn't you walk away? Well, that's how people are. They bring in good, but at the same time, they got a bowl of drama right there. So you get all the good, and then you're thinking, oh, Lord, I want her to come over, but then I'm going to have to, when she leaves, I'm going to feel so down. When they leave, here she's calling me, he's calling me, she's calling me, they're calling me. But when I get off the phone, I'm going to feel so down. What they're doing is they're draining you. They're taking everything that's in their mind that's bad, and they're dumping it on you. They feel better, but now you feel bad. when what they should have done is allow you to dump some good into them to move the bad out. Now, I'm not saying don't talk to people. Some people do need to talk about situations that are bad in their life. But there are some people that are just dramatic and trying to pull you into their drama. They're not trying to be healed. They're not trying to get out of the situation. They're trying to pull you in. You remember the scene in Scarface? The guys will know when Michael Corleone says, every time I try to get out, they pull me right back in. That's how drama is. Every time you decide to get out, here they come with a good piece of juicy gossip to pull you right back in. And what you don't realize is that's what you're connected with. It's real bad when it's amongst men, because you don't usually see that type of stuff amongst men. But when men do it, it's horrible. Rusty Chicken was like that, just horrible. Just always got drama going on. Drama. And then people tend to just dislike you when you're like that. So you don't want to have those type of connections in your life, because those connections drain you. Not only do they drain you mentally, but they drain you physically. And that's how ulcers and cancer and all these different sicknesses come into our body, because now I'm stressed out. I'm not going to stress out over something that's going on with you, and I'm not even living in your house. Why am I connected with you when you just bringing stress? Why am I connected with you when you're not even assisting me in anything? I'm doing all the giving, you're doing all the taking, and when I do all the giving, I'm drained, I'm tired, I'm upset, I'm feeling sick. It's to the point when you call, I just don't even answer the phone no more. If you knock on the door, I won't even answer the door, because you're draining me. Because I am connected with the wrong person. Connections can drain you. Connections can make you sick. Connections can just bleed the life right out of you. So you want to be connected with the right people. I was talking to Steve on Tuesday night, and I was talking about forming my leadership. And I'm being very careful, because when you form a leadership, that's the foundation of what you're doing. So you got to have people that you can trust. You got to have people that are connected with you. You have to have the kind of people that you can argue and you can disagree on how to get where you're going, but at the end of the day, they still support where you're going. We might not drive the truck like you want to drive. I might want to drive a race car. You might think a truck is better. So we get into a big argument. An associate would leave and say, well, I don't want to be a part of this vision. A true connected friend would say, okay, no matter how we get there, I know we're going to get there. I'm with you. Like Chiefs mess. What's in the mess stays in the mess. It didn't always happen like that. What's in the mess stays in the mess. It's the same way in life. When you connected with someone and you link up with someone, you're never going to see everything the same way. Think about Jesus. Jesus never healed people the same way. He never did things the same way. So what if his disciples would have said, you know what, I'm not going to follow this man. And there were times in the Bible where the disciples said things and they were connected with Jesus. There was a scripture in the Bible where Jesus says, I must die and be raised again on the third day. Peter, sweet little thing, said, no, Lord, you can't die. Jesus turned around and looked at him and said, you are of your father, the devil. You're mindful of things on earth and not in heaven. What if I was to tell one of y'all that? You would never come back here. But that's how connected Peter was with Jesus. Jesus called him a devil. In other words, you Lucifer. What Jesus was saying is you are allowing the influences of demonic forces and of this world to make you say what you're saying. I already know where I'm going. I have my purpose for coming here was to die on the cross. How are you, Peter, a connection of mine, going to tell me I can't die on the cross? So Jesus rebuked him. In other words, I'll use a modern day word, Jesus took a belt and whooped him. Peter straightened up, but he didn't leave because he was connected. And even when Jesus died, Peter says, I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know him. But he didn't leave. He still went on to heal people. He still went on to die for Jesus. So in other words, when he connected with Jesus on that boat that day, when Jesus told him to launch out into the deep and Peter caught all those fish and he connected with Jesus, James and John also connected with Jesus. They never left Jesus. They was with Jesus till he died. And even after Jesus died, those men that connected with him evangelized the whole earth and helped write the very Bible that we're reading today. So look how far those connections are still going. It's 2,000 years later, and those connections that Jesus forged, or those alliances that he forged with the disciples, are still affecting people today, right now on this earth. So your connection should always affect something in your life. It should always affect people in your life. Your connection should be so powerful that when people meet you and they meet your connections, they automatically know, oh, they're going somewhere. I need to get on board with this. Because when you read the story of the fishermen, when Jesus didn't talk to James or John. They were associates of Peter. Jesus talked to Peter. He said, Peter, I will make you fishermen of men. But when James and John saw all those fish and they saw what Jesus did in Peter's life, Jesus said, drop everything and follow me. They left their family. They left everything to follow Jesus. James and John said, hey, this is a good thing right here. I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to follow him too. Most people, because that would have been me, I'd have been sitting on the shore when they're out there trying to fish in the wrong spot. I'd been like, you know, why they out there trying to fish? Okay, this man is a preacher. He don't know nothing about fishing, so why you listening to him? You know, that's the kind of person I am. Why you listening to him? I don't care who Jesus is. We've been fishing all night. I'm tired. Jesus. Peter out there looking stupid. Why are you casting your net in the deep when you know the fish are here in the shallow? We can't. First of all, Peter, we only fish at night because that's the time to fish, because all the fish come in from the deep and they feed in the shallow water. So you let your nets down, the fish get caught up in the net at night, and that's how you catch fish. You don't go out into the deep and let your net down, because the fish just swim up under the type of net they have. The fish just swim up under the net. So Jesus, number one, he's fishing at the wrong time of the day. Well, number one, he tells Peter, go into an area that I'm telling you to go. Number one, that's the wrong area. Number two, it's the wrong time of the day. Number three, I'm not supposed to fish with this net in this area at this time of day. And Jesus says, okay, everything is wrong, Peter, but let your net down for a catch. Peter says, well, nevertheless, at your word, because we're connected and I believe you, I'm going to let my net down for a catch. Peter let his net down for a catch, and he caught more fish than he ever caught in his life. He caught so many fish by listening to Jesus, whom he was connected with, whom he had an agreement with. Agreement is the place of power. When you agree with someone, that's where the power starts. That's where things start. So because he was connected with Jesus, that was an agreement between him and Jesus. He called his friends. He had enough fish to bless his associates who were not connected with Jesus. So see how powerful connections are? So when they saw that, they came and then their boats were filled and they began to sink. Now, the biggest catch of probably of their life